guys, it's Kristen, and the day has finally arrived. We are talking about Netflix's new series, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. You guys know this is a show I've been super excited for. If you want to catch up on the other discussions that we've had on the show, I will leave a link to my Chilling Adventures of Sabrina playlist. In honor of the show, I'm rocking red, black, and white in literally all forms. Yeah, I accidentally broke my foot, but don't worry guys, I'm all good. But as with all of my reviews, there will be some spoilers, so get ready, witches. So Chilling Adventures of Sabrina begins right before Sabrina's 16th birthday and her dark baptism. Sabrina is a half witch and half mortal, and because of that we really see a big struggle in those two different sides of herself. You know, as a half mortal, she has these great friends, she has this boyfriend Harvey that she loves so much, and she really loves the life that she has at Baxter High. But as a half witch, she's expected to sign her name in the Book of the Beast, to denounce all things mortal, embrace her magic, and, you know, basically be on the side of the devil. She wants to forge her own path and see if there's a way that she can do both and still have her freedom, but is that possible? This was a storyline that I thought we'd be following throughout the entire season, but it was pretty much resolved, or so it seemed, within the first 2 to 3 episodes, and then we followed a whole bunch of other storylines that I was not expecting that were a lot of fun, very dark and eerie and magical. Sabrina and her family deal with a sleep demon. We get to see them go through this Hunger Games style feast. We see Sabrina try and fail to resurrect Harvey's brother Tommy, and she even travels to Limbo. And we also get to see the other people in Sabrina's life deal with their own storylines and issues and struggles. Even Sabrina's mortal friends have their own supernatural tales that are going on throughout this story. Harvey learns that he's a descendant of witch hunters. Roz learns that her family has been cursed by witches, so all the women start going blind, and with that it opens up their own psychic abilities. And Susie's uncle is possessed by a demon, and then she ends up talking with and getting advice from the ghost of one of her ancestors. But of course the situation with Sabrina being half witch and half mortal doesn't completely disappear. It just becomes a more subtle but still overarching storyline throughout the entire season that even Sabrina doesn't realize is still an issue. Let's get into our various characters. Of course we have Kiernan Shipka as Sabrina Spellman, and I thought that she was absolutely perfect in this role. She really embodied what Sabrina is all about. She's strong, she's optimistic, she's not afraid of anything, she will do whatever it takes to protect her family and friends. She's extremely loyal. You could see that she just was always trying to do the right thing, and I think Kiernan did an incredible job in this role. Miranda Otto and Lucy Davis were wonderful as Aunt Zelda and Aunt Hilda, and Chance Perdomo was an absolute standout as Ambrose. I really like that we got a chance to learn more and dive deeper into the Spellman family, especially in episode 5 when we get into that sleep demon. I think we really got to get into the core of these characters. I also liked the warlock Nick Scratch, played by Gavin Leatherwood. You could tell that he really liked Sabrina, but at the same time he was a really loyal and dedicated friend to her, which I appreciated. And I think the Weird Sisters had a really fun frenemy situation going on with Sabrina. There were times where they, you know, worked together, and I especially liked her relationship with Prudence, played by Tati Gabrielle. Michelle Gomez had an interesting job in this show, playing kind of like a double agent with Miss Wardell and also Madam Satan. Throughout the season she made it seem like she was helping Sabrina, but we as viewers could see that she had her own agenda given to her by the Dark Lord, which was to get Sabrina to finally sign her name in the Book of the Beast. I think her storyline in particular is going to get really interesting as we get into more seasons, because she seems to think that she's being groomed to, you know, be the right hand of the devil and, you know, be at his side, and Sabrina will become kind of like a soldier of the devil. But I think it's actually going to be the opposite situation, and she's going to be betrayed by the devil, and maybe she'll pull a Snape and end up helping Sabrina in the long run. I was also really pleasantly surprised by Ross Lynch as Harvey Kinkle. I think he did a really great job in that role. He was this lovable jock with a love for comic books and art and drawing. He was really sensitive and smart and brave, and he would do anything for Sabrina. One of my favorite scenes actually with him was when he told Sabrina how he couldn't kill the deer in the woods with his family because, you know, he's known to be a descendant of witch hunters, but this kind of revealed that he's not like them. I really think Sabrina and Harvey are a perfect match together, so obviously it was a little bit sad to see at the end of this season them kind of separate, but I'm hoping that they reunite in season 2. I do wish though that there was a little bit more balance between the storylines of Sabrina's mortal friends and her witch life, because I feel like within the first like 5 episodes or so we were really focused on all of the witchy magic going on, but then the mortals like Harvey and Roz and Susie were kind of pushed to the side a little bit. We did get to see more of them in the second half of the season, but I think that it made it so that we didn't really learn as much about them as I would have hoped, especially because they got some really interesting supernatural storylines going on as well. I do think that there were also some really great topics brought up in this show. You know, Sabrina really questions everything. She questions good and evil and the Dark Lord and freedom versus free will, and she really tries to stand up to the patriarchy, especially with her friends at Baxter High. And I think that idea is going to be a storyline that continues on because this is a show about really strong female witches. You know, Sabrina is always trying to help other women, even other women that she might not have great relationships with, like Prudence. And at the same time, you see there's like this interesting dynamic where there's these men like the Dark Lord and Father Blackwood who have all this control and who are trying to control these women. And I think Sabrina is trying to break that. And I really like this storyline with Sabrina being her own person, wanting her own freedom, having her own thoughts and opinions, and not just going with the crowd. She's definitely a free thinker. She definitely wants to do the right thing and doesn't want to just listen to what people tell her to do. Additionally, we see Harvey deal with an abusive father. We see him deal with the loss, resurrection, and then loss again of his brother. Susie also looks like she could be maybe questioning and maybe in the future even transition her gender, which could be a really cool story to follow. You know, this show is dark, it's eerie, it's chilling, it is gory at times. They are really walking this fine line of dark and light, but at the same time, it's fun, it's funny, and you can really see the strength that Sabrina gets from her relationships with her family and her friends. You know, this is the Sabrina that we know and love, just in situations that are a bit, well, unsettling. For those of you who might not know, Sabrina actually is originally an Archie Comics character. I know a lot of people thought that Sabrina the Teenage Witch starring Melissa Joan Hart was the first time that we were introduced to Sabrina, but she's actually been around since 1962 in the comic books. In 2015, following the great success of Afterlife with Archie, which is a zombie apocalyptic story featuring the Archie Comics characters, the Archie Comics company decided to make a new imprint called Archie Horror, where they focused on horror stories, and they made Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, a darker take on Sabrina's origin story. So the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina TV show is actually not a remake of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, it's an adaptation of this horror comic book series. I definitely recommend checking out the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina comic book as well. It's definitely very different from the show, but there are a lot of similarities as well. In fact, I absolutely love the show's opening credits, which are a tribute to the comic book series drawn by the original artist, Robert Hack. There are a ton of Easter eggs in that opening of what we can expect in the show, but one of my favorites was actually a throwback to the original Sabrina art where she's watching Archie on TV. And that's something that I think is so cool about the show as well. There are a lot of references to Archie Comics as well as to classic horror in general. You know, Sabrina and her friends watch classic horror movies like Night of the Living Dead and Carnival of Souls, and then they have these really deep, detailed discussions on the themes and messages of the films, which I think was really fun. Harvey has this outfit on at one point that is definitely a reference to Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street. Hilda gets her job at Cerberus Books by sharing her knowledge of horror movie TV hosts like Vampira. Episode 6 is a clear homage to The Exorcist, and the Spellman Parlor features a ceiling that looks exactly like the one in the movie Suspiria. And getting into some of the Archie references, we actually see Sabrina drink out of a vintage thermos that has the Archies on it. You can see two different covers of Archie's Madhouse in Harvey's room. That's actually the comic book series that as a character Sabrina made her first ever appearance in. At Cerberus Books we even get to see Luke, Ambrose's boyfriend, holding an Afterlife with Archie comic book, and they also make several references to Riverdale and Riverdale High in general. Even Ben Button from Riverdale makes an appearance as a pizza delivery guy, and we apparently get to see him die in both Archie shows. Finally, I want to get into some of the cliffhangers at the end of this season. There were a lot, and I think that there's so much that we can get into in season 2. First of all, it looks like Aunt Hilda and her boss, Dr. Cerberus, are having this little budding romance, which is really cute, really sweet. Was very excited for her until he walks away and you see his eyes glow with like this weird color that hints that there's definitely something going on with him. Does that mean he's evil? Is he a supernatural being in some way? I guess only time will tell. Connor Kemper's murder is still unsolved. Will we learn more about that? Ambrose had the suspicion that, you know, maybe there is a witch hunter out there. Is that something that's going to play a role in season 2? Salem helped Sabrina out a bunch of times this season, but you can tell he doesn't really have a huge role. I think that might be due in part to the fact that Kiernan Shipka is a allergic, but we do hear him talk very, very briefly right before he becomes her familiar. He kind of says, like, I heard your call and I'm here, and then we see Salem appear. But will we see him talk as a cat? I don't think so, but you never know. You know, there's a lot of magic going on here. Anything's possible. Aunt Zelda helps Father Blackwood and his wife give birth to his twins, but it turns out one ends up being a girl, and she knows that Father Blackwood really wanted a male heir, and the fact that the daughter was born first, she was afraid that he would do something terrible. So she pretends that only one child survives and takes the baby girl to raise her as their own in the Spellman family. So what is that going to mean? I was not expecting that storyline at all, so what is going to happen with that baby? Then, of course, Sabrina's friends all learn that she is a witch, and they accept her, and that's really awesome. But with Madame Satan's plan to raise 13 avenging witches and bring forth the Red Angel of Death, now Sabrina is kind of forced into signing the Book of the Beast. And I just feel like I wish Sabrina had questioned it a little bit more, because what is it about Sabrina that makes it so that she's the only one that could stop everything that was going on? You know, there's all these other witches who have signed their names in this Book of the Beast. None of them could have used their power to save Greendale. I think that there were other options, and Sabrina just wasn't thinking. Her hair turns white, which is a reference to the original comic, and then she takes a step away from her mortal friends and really embraces her life at the Academy of Unseen Arts. What is that gonna mean? Is Sabrina evil now? Like, will she ever be able to get back with her friends and Harvey again and forge her own path where she can have, you know, her mortal life and her witch life, or is it completely over now? I think that's something we're gonna learn in season 2. And finally, something I'm really curious about is, what was the original plan? What did Sabrina's mom and dad really want for her? I'm really curious about that, and I think that's something we're definitely gonna dive into at some point in time. You know, the show has already started filming season 2, so I think we might get these answers even sooner than we think. And I just really loved The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. It had a lot of heart, there was a lot of emotion, there was a lot of magic and mystery and horror and gore and just everything that you would want in a show all wrapped up in one. I think this was definitely the perfect show to come out around Halloween, and I love Sabrina as a character, so I'm just really excited for more. I would love to know what you guys thought about The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, so please leave your comments down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and click that subscribe button because I come out with new videos every week. See ya!